you pursue this dream when things get tough, because when you're first starting out, it's not, you don't make a lot of money, and it's hard and it's a grind. Same thing with losing weight and anything else. You have to have the discipline, because the motivation would flee. But if you don't hold close to that, then you might just lose it and get burnt out. With everything I do, I try to leave the space or the people better than I found the space or when they met me. Like, it's just, I want to be meaningful, impactful changes and interactions. And if everybody did that, the world would just be a much better place, right? You have to be okay with being uncomfortable and the discomfort that comes with it. And I think some people just aren't, and that gives them an excuse to not have to be.
Do you believe that people buy training or trainer? Welcome to another episode of Core Values. Today in studio I have a special guest who is one of the nicest people in the house, I can say that. Very nice with his clients, very, very generous guy. Always smile, always in a good mood, which I really respect. And I'm very excited to talk to him today. George, thank you so much for coming here.
Pleasure.
His last name is Flores? No.
Flores.
Flores,
yes.
In Spanish.
Flores.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's a pretty nice last name.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time to talk to me. I'm really excited about this.
No, my pleasure, man. Pleasure to be here.
So you just mentioned that family, they call you buddy.
Yes.
I love that, but I'm not going to call you buddy today, even though you
good.
are my buddy.
I think a lot of people in here that's new information to them too.
But a lot of people know you as a George.
Yeah, most people.
George.
School, professional, and everything. Yeah.
How do you feel today?
Good. Glad to be here. I mean, long week, a lot of clients.
You want to say you are tired?
Tired, yes. But the minute we started this, got like a little boost of energy. So second wind. Then the caffeine helped a little bit. But
You had a little caffeine. What did you have there?
It's just almost a energy drink powder from what is it, Gorilla Mode?
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's just guy. I use his products. It's really good.
Do you recommend that to your clients?
I do. Yeah, it's his Instagram handle is more plates, more dates. I mean, like, he's done tons of. I mean, really smart dude. Done tons of kind of. I guess what do you call it when you work with somebody else? I forget the name of it. Again, still tired.
I see. Like
Collaborations.
Collaboration. When
Yeah,
collaborate
yeah,
with someone.
With a couple of other smart people in the field. But I mean, like, I looked at his products. Everything is good. Good dosages, good ingredients, no frills. It's really good. Yeah.
Cool. How did you end up in fitness, George?
I mean, I want to say it's accidental. I had started doing sports marketing in junior college, where I had my scholarship for baseball, and I had a D1 scholarship for junior college, and then transferred out of there because Lehman College was just starting their exercise science degree, and I thought I was gonna go like the PT route, the physical therapist route. That was like that kind of like piqued my interest. So got into their program, and from there, you have to do a clinical and a commercial internship. I did both, and the commercial just appealed more to me. I it just by chance got into a really good gym, a really good program. I mean, everything about it, from who I learned under, Brad Schoenfeld, just made exercise and the application of it and the science behind it. It was, again, it started making me derail away from physical therapy and more into strength and conditioning. So that right there, plus the internship itself, sealed it in for me. It was a place called Peak Performance.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Joe Dowdell and what he built there. It's also why I feel I am where I am today, just because of what he built and the network and the connections I made there and the accessibility to the clientele I have. So, I mean, that was a big part of it. And then, but yeah, kind of just stood this route and never looked back.
What do you like the most about personal training?
It's never boring. It's always stimulating. I mean, the fact that what you may learn today may not be true in the next couple of years, because science gets challenged and things change. So the ability to, not necessarily the you have to be fluid in your thinking and your approach, and that's just from what's true to the science and the application of it, also to how you approach each individual client. So there's that. So there's never really getting bored. There's so many avenues within training. You've had other guests in here who specialize in other things, right? And then so you can go recovery modalities, you can go strength and conditioning, you can go body recomposition, you can do whatever you want within this field. Nothing is in a vacuum, so I can even kind of broaden my spectrum and tap into other stuff and use it within my clients. So there's that. And then there's that and then just the people you meet, the resources that you can connect with within their networks. And yeah, it's just the accessibility and the different conversations and stimulating I guess sessions you have with these people. So it's nothing boring about it. And then you change lives and you get paid well. So I mean, like, it's multifaceted. Like, the idea of changing people's lives for the better is also one of the big things, but like all other stuff just keeps you in it for the long term.
Do you believe that people buy training or trainer?
Trainer. They buy into the trainer, because if they bought into training, then they wouldn't change trainers, right? They wouldn't do that. They would kind of. Also, another thing is a lot of trainers meet their clients in commercial facilities, and then their clients follow them into private facilities, right? So I mean, it's more the connections and the people, I feel like. But it's it's a double-edged sword, because I feel like they also want to see changes. So it's the person who makes the training fun for them and kind of able to make them make this approach or this kind of these goals or this journey kind of more one appeal, and then also more digestible. So I think it's as with everything is holistic, but definitely the trainer is the big part. You have to meet the trainer at a certain level and have like some sort of connection before you go forward.
What is the thing that make every trainer complete trainer? What are the things? What do you think is the most important for trainers to be complete trainers?
Well,
what aspects do you think are important for trainers to be successful trainers, besides just being a good trainer when it comes to training?
You have to like just know the psyche of the person that you're dealing with, like psychological aspect of it, the creating the environment for the person to thrive, knowing what pushes them, knowing what pushes them in a positive way and what pushes them. So you got like there's two types of stress. There's a good stress and a bad stress, right? So like knowing how you can push them in a positively stressful manner, as opposed to pushing them and giving them negative inputs, trying to make them do work and kind of giving them a negative response to training, right? Some people respond well to the boot camp style trainers. Some people don't. Some people need to be a little bit coddled a little bit more, right? So there's understanding that. Like also, I think, because again, thinking with psychology, understanding how habit formation is built, and then helping them figure out what their hurdles are, what their obstacles are. Like it's having the approach that each one is an individual, but then there's also like, if you're in this field as well, like within this not necessarily I guess you have field, but the clientele you deal with, you have to be relatable. You have to know what they're into. You got to have the conversations. You kind of make these split-second guesses on the lifestyles they live. Be able to have those conversations, right? Kind of like, I think that's important too, because association is big. Like whether the way you dress, the way you speak, the way you look, all that's super important, because majority of it is just that approach you get when you first see somebody. So I think there's that. And then from there, you kind of have the tools to go deeper and build those more personal connections. So it's a lot. It's a lot that goes into being a successful trainer, and a lot of that sometimes isn't necessarily on the training floor.
Let's go back like when did you start training people?
So I would say 2015 is when I would say I got my certification, but I graduated with my exercise science degree in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Did the internship. I worked in the physical therapy office for like about a year, and then while doing that, I was doing the internship. So, yeah, like 2015 is when I really got certified and started training people on my own.
If you can choose one thing that helps you the most to be successful trainer, what that will be?
One thing that find what you like to do. Excuse me. Find what drives you, and then find what drives you, and then just do that well. Know yourself, because when I got into the industry, I felt like I got into it late, and I started taking every course, everything, trying to catch up. I mean, I wasted so much time and resources doing certifications and everything that I don't use, and it's like that kind of derailed me from knowing who I am as a trainer and kind of honing into that and kind of going with that. So I feel like knowing yourself and kind of having a really strong why into doing it, and it has to be for the right reasons as well. Like you have to, that's going to pursue you, and that's going to help you pursue this dream when things get tough. Because when you're first starting out, it's not, you don't make a lot of money, and it's hard and it's a grind. But you're like same thing with losing weight and anything else. You have to have the discipline, because the motivation would fleet. But if you don't hold close to that, then you might just lose it and get burnt out.
How did you find your why?
I mean, I've always knew I wanted to be of service of some sort. So, and kind of like looking back at all my jobs was kind of absurd of like one within the service industry. But this was just one way I was able to do it. And I loved competing in sports and everything else. And kind of a lot of it was troubleshooting myself within injuries and all the other stuff. And it kind of just, it kind of diffused into my work to a certain extent. So yeah, I think it all tied in.
Mm-hmm. And you realize that's your why. Like, this is going to be your why for the future, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just my why is I want to, with everything I do, I try to leave the space or the people better than I found the space or when they met me, right? Like, it's just, I want to be meaningful, impactful changes and interactions. And I can do that on a daily basis here. So, yeah.
Is that the most important to you when it comes to personal training and your career and your business?
Yeah. Yeah. How can I show up for somebody else, right? Because you, like, just being selfless in this, right? Because everything is an exchange of energy. So you try to be, kind of give that positive energy into somebody else, and hopefully they leave better than when they walked in with you. And if everybody did that, the world would just be a much better place, right? In general. But I'm just doing that within my scope that I can. So
cool. So when it comes to personal training your clients, how do you approach your clients on an individual basis? If you have someone, like, you have people with different goals, right?
Yeah.
How do you approach them? Like, let's say you have someone who, I don't know, want to lose weight. Like, how do you start working with them?
So it's funny, like, I don't approach them. I see how they approach me, right?
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so it's that kind of thing. I see who shows up before that door, right? First things, I watch them when they don't know I'm watching them. So I see how they walk. I see this. I kind of like see where, like, their biomechanics, if you would, right, underneath it all. And like, I see where things may be off and some stuff I can drive changes within there. But then I have the conversation with them. I see how they speak. We have that the what you call it, the assessment, and I see what they want, their needs. I try to get deeper, because on the surface level they'll tell you, yeah, I want to lose weight, I want to get healthy. But on the surface, on a deeper level, you'll find out, well, my father had a heart attack at a younger age, and I just don't want to have a heart attack. Like, you try to get underneath, and you kind of attach to their why.
Why is that so important?
Because if you can make their whys very visceral, and you can see why they're in here really, then you can really start making changes, right? You have to make it real for them, right? Like, you have to connect with them, with their goals and what they want. I want to be able to pick my kids up, right? Like, I don't want to get injured doing that stuff. So you make it there. You don't make it about what they see in the mirror so much, because part of the reason why they don't like what they see in the mirror is because of other inputs, right? So it's like you can't make real change until you get deep into why they're here in the first place. So I just see who the person is. I see what their goals are. I kind of, through trial and error through our sessions, I kind of see what makes them push, what kind of makes them tick positively, what kind of negative, and I kind of just like, you fine tune your approach to who's in front of you, because no two clients are going to be the same. I mean, and you can just make sure that within all those things, you find out how you can push them a little bit more each session. So I still adhere to the progressive overload and all the scientific principles, but you also have to understand, like, training is an art and a science, and the art is who shows up in front of you and how you're going to manipulate these variables and how are you going to make all these things happen to drive these positive adaptations within this person, whether that be increase one more rep the next session within the weight scheme, whether that be add another set, whether that be add in a whole nother exercise. But you have to know who it is and how to do it, and just kind of adhere to those principles while seeing who's in front of you.
What about communication between you and them? Is that important?
Oh, it's super important, because it has to be a free flow of information. It has to be, again, safe for them to tell you what's really happening outside, so you know what their hurdles are. I mean, if we're speaking like specific within the gym, because if we're talking specifically of like making changes, they have to feel safe to tell you, well, I cheated on my diet, right? Or like, yeah, we went out and had a few drinks and all this other stuff. My sleep isn't great. But if they don't feel safe to tell you that, then you're never going to be able to get down to what the root issue is. And they're also not going to trust you enough to kind of adhere to what your specialties are, or your professionalism, for the lack of better words, and kind of make the changes that you see fit, because they may not trust what you say as to be the truth or kind of beneficial, because there's so much information out there that can go against what you think. So I think the communication has to be there so you can know what's going on, and then you have to be able to have that trust as well, so they can, I guess, follow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are your specialties?
I guess I'll probably consider myself a jack of all trades, master of none, per se, even though some people might not agree with me. But I say that like because, yeah, I mean, I read books on habit building, psychology, all that other stuff. I like body recomposition stuff. I like all that other stuff. But big into biomechanics. I took some like classes and courses with schools of thought for, again, changing. I don't want to like use acronyms and names of schools, but changing that stuff. So I feel like my whole goal when I got into this industry was to broaden the spectrum from strength and conditioning and athletic performance, and I guess injury and pre and post hab, right? Post rehab. So I kind of just try to tap into like a little bit more of the biometrics and use what I knew and kind of learned and actually applied to myself for strength and conditioning, and kind of just try to bridge that gap a little bit more for two reasons. One, I can help more people, but from a business standpoint, I have more access to clients, right? Because if I have, if you just put yourself in a niche, which is, if you put yourself in a niche, which isn't bad, because if you specialize and you're really good at specializing, you can make a lot of money. But you kind of narrow your window of who you can train. But now if you have access to more people to train and more networks, right, of people that you can tap into, you have a wider funnel that you can tap into. So part of it is wanting to help as much people as I can, which ties into my why. But then it also goes into like, well, on a secondary note, by default, it's a very good business model. So I kind of just like tapped in. That's kind of what, kind of like specialize, if you want to call it specializing, in helping a lot of people make changes. Because it's, when you get to like body recomposition, it's very easy. It's just manipulating thermogenics or energy in versus energy out. It's just how do you do that? Whether that's increasing steps, lowering calories, right? Increasing muscle mass to change BMI and all this other stuff to kind of change all that other thing, increasing NEAT and all this other stuff, like whatever acronyms you want to use. It's all about, that's really easy, but getting the person to do that is hard. So you got to be very good at psychology and all the other stuff. And then also knowing if somebody can't move well, you can't force them to do these squats and all this other stuff so well. What other tools in our toolbox can we have to make these people move? So then, I mean, like, yeah, it's kind of, don't have like a specialization. I just figured I'd just be able to help a lot of people move better.
What do you don't like about your job?
The grind, like the grind. It's long hours. It's, and by the grind, it's like each session one session could be more grinding than the other. Just the energy it takes to train some people. So there's that. For me personally,
Tell me something more about that.
Yeah. So you have just some clients who are more energy intensive than others, meaning for whatever reason they complain about everything. You try to give them your input on how to make changes. They think they know better for themselves than you do. They don't adhere, and they know they don't adhere, but they still don't want to be accountable, so they somehow put blame on everything.
Why do you think is that?
Why do I think they put blame?
Why do you think they put blame on someone else, not themselves?
Because it's easier to deal with, right? If you don't blame yourself, then you don't necessarily say that you're the reason why you're not where you need to be.
What about honesty with themselves? Are they honest with themselves?
That's what it is. No, I think if a lot of people are more honest and accountable, then changes will be made faster. So
why are they not honest? What do you think?
I mean, I don't know why they're not honest. Some people are just more resilient than others. Some people, like, there's like an adage that if you say a lie long enough, you believe it yourself. So some of that might be that they think it's everything else but the actions that they're actually doing, right? No one wants to believe that they're a detriment to themselves, I think. And so there might be some of that. I think if I knew that answer to that $1 million question, I'd be rich right now, right? And I could solve everybody's problems. But it's just, I think there's, with the mind, it's tough. And it kind of, yeah, I think it's just easier for somebody to not be accountable and blame somebody else so they can stay where they're at. I think that's just all it is. It's just, it helps people stay in their comfort zones. And to make change, you have to be okay with being uncomfortable and the discomfort that comes with it. And I think some people just aren't, and that gives them an excuse to not have to be.
What else do you also don't like about your job?
Besides the grind of it and that, I mean, I don't know too much of what I don't I don't know too much of what I don't like about my job. I really do believe in kind of like trying to not have emotions to things, right? These are just, it's the job I chose, right? And it's I really try to like live by the approach of only solutions and no problems, right? If there's something I don't like, I would try to change it. And if I haven't changed it, it's because I probably don't dislike it as much as I think I do, right? I try to think about the benefits of doing things, right? If I'm tired, it's because I've been working long hours. And it's how you change your approach to things. Instead of saying like, oh man, I had a long day, I go, look how much I've done today. I've done X amount of sessions. I've done this, right? And if there's in today's day and age, there's a problem to almost every solution. So if there's something I don't like about my job, I can have either tap into somebody else and have them do things, whether that be hire an assistant virtually, whether that be reach out to somebody for retirement advice and everything else like that. But I mean, the biggest thing about it, as now that I'm kind of like, it would just rings the bell would be true, would just be the security, I would say. That would probably be the biggest thing, not having the security of not necessarily just the retirement thing. It's just our income changes if clients go away, right? If we make, I don't know what everybody's rates are, but like if you make a decent amount per hour, when you don't work that hour, you don't make that money. So it's like that to me would be the biggest thing. It's just the grind is there because you know the security isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that'll be it.
Do you think is there anyone who can help you with that, like fix that problem about security? Is there any skill that you can learn, you can scale your business and not having that issue? Is that part of being a trainer? It's also a personal trainer one-on-one is also not scalable, right?
Yeah.
What do you think it can be a solution for trainers to not feel that way?
I mean, I'm not sure because, well, let me take that back. It would still be developing some sort of system that you can make money while you're sleeping, right? Because and what I mean by that is that's security. Like if you have to work to make money, you'll be working forever, right? So whether that be designing custom templates, whether that be creating programs that sort of, you already build those things out and it kind of generates and it kind of moves the client from one to the other. You don't really have to tap in. You can now scale horizontally and kind of do that. So there's that, but somebody who can help me like make money while I'm not training people, that's kind of would be like the approach of like having a job, right, that pays you a salary annually no matter how many hours you work with paid time off and all that other stuff. I don't know how that would work within the training industry, but yeah, it's kind of difficult to fathom how that would be possible, especially in an industry that's saturated and everybody's doing the same thing.
What if someone comes to you and say, look, I can teach you how to teach other trainers every week, and a couple months from now you're going to have like 100 trainers who are going to learn from you how to be better trainers, and you do like that a few times, one time a week, per week, and would you be okay with that to be their coach?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Do you think that's scalable?
It would take, I mean, yeah, there are people doing it right now, right? There are people who have trainers working underneath them with clients that are underneath them. So it is scalable. It's definitely possible and is being done right now. So the answer is yes to that question.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I think that can be a solution for trainers who are, because I've been seeing a lot of trainers who are very busy all the time, having a lot. I'm one of them also. We have clients all day long, and then you ask trainers. I've been asking trainers what they don't like about their job, but recently because I'm very interested to learn what is that. And then almost everybody says the same thing. Oh, I work long hours. It's a grind. If I don't do this amount of hours, then I'm not going to make enough money. Then I've been thinking about what's scalable for us. How can we help somehow, not just each other, but also how can we scale? How can we learn something to be better, like, in our job, so we can probably scale this. That's why I'm asking people, because I'm very interested. It's being very, like, I feel like trainers are in their comfort zone as well.
Yeah.
And they're like not improving different skills that can maybe scale in the future somehow.
Yeah, I'm actually working on something like that now, where I'm building out. I think we've spoken about some of the stuff that I'm working out on the back end because of that same reason. So it's like, so you have to see what, again, no problems, only solutions, right? Some of the problem is that people don't have the financial means to pay what we ask for, right? So you can do a couple of things. You can either find somebody you have trainers underneath you who are lower pay scales, or you can create some sort of system at a lower pay, at a lower rate, and letting them know, like, well, these are the services that this would offer, and that's probably more just program design and everything else like that, kind of building that stuff out, which is kind of like what I'm working on now, building out those things that, well, like, okay, these are the services I provide. That's one-on-one training, that's online program design, that's Zoom sessions, and if still these three things are out of your price range, I'll have this fourth option where it allows you to just do these programs. There'll be very little input from me, barely any. But if you feel like you may need more, you can scale up. You can kind of go up into tiers and kind of access these higher tier systems, because it's going to be a little bit more money. And then once you which kind of brings me to that second point. Eventually, our client's going to hit a point where they don't need us. And I tell my clients, I want you to reach a point where you don't need me, because my whole goal is to make you, pretty much to make it so you can do this on your own. And then if they reach that point, then they can drop down and they can still use my program design, right? And then it allows me to open up space to help somebody else who may need my one-on-one service, right? So then, yeah, it's kind of like tapping into all these other different streams that you can kind of use, tier systems, all that other stuff, referral networks, right? Like, I like if somebody refers me, I throw the person who referred me, once the client buys a package, I give them money, and we have like these constant networks. So it's like people are coming and going all through. I have some trainers that when I'm away, they'll train my clients for me, and vice versa. So it's just like there's this ecosystem that you create that can be beneficial financially as well.
Cool. How can we help you when you say sometimes this person probably will not need me anymore?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to that point, how do you know there is a point that your client doesn't need you anymore, and what do you say to that person?
I mean, when they're like, you can kind of see it. Their form is like, you don't even have that. There's very little that goes into the session other than just like conversation, right? Like you don't have to really cue them as much. Their body composition, their markers, whatever their goal is kind of, they can do things on their own. When they go away on vacation and you ask them how their vacation was and they kind of went to the gym, did things on their own, they feel comfortable in these spaces and all this other stuff. So again, it's what they come to you, because some clients might come to you because they don't feel comfortable in the gym floor by themselves, right? Yeah, you can have a feel, and there's to go back to repeat your question one more time, because I always go on these tangents.
No, I said, like, how do you know that someone reached the point that doesn't need you anymore, and they can still work out on their own and like go with their own routine, and now they're motivated enough to do that on their own? Do you believe? Let's do this also. So, do you believe that motivation is stronger than having a system to be that person?
No.
Okay.
No, because motivation is fleeting, right? It's discipline. Because over the years, you're just instilling discipline into a person, and you give them systems, because systems are going to override, right? I think the book I'm reading now is so I think this might be actually from Atomic Habits. I'm reading Blink and Atomic Habits, but Atomic Habits talks about like being, I'm gonna butcher this, I'm sure, but like people who create systems don't have to be as resilient as other people, because they don't put themselves into situations that require energy to not make bad decisions, right? So it's that thing. So over the years, you're training people, you're helping them build systems, and then eventually those systems are going to support themselves. So like a lot of times people are training with you, again, because you're program designed. So a lot of people don't want to think about having to write their own programs. Me as a trainer, at one point I was hiring another trainer to write my program, another coach, because I write so many programs. I just want to come in and be mindless. And a lot of people you train make decisions all day. They don't want to do it. So some of them are with you for that in the long haul, as well as who you are, right? And they want to be around people, because in the world that we live in nowadays, it's people are becoming more separated by working from home, remotely, all this other things, where this is one time where they get to be in person with somebody else and have these communications and not be business-like, right, with their work and family. So it's like a separation, right? So, but if you see their systems and their goals, I mean, they'll probably voice it, or you can just see it, because our job is to be very nuanced and see things, and like whether that be biomechanically, right, or whether that be how they walking in, whether they're tired. Like if your coach's eye can spot a bunch of different things. So if you see like there's very little input in me, like there's some clients I walk away to go grab a weight and come back, and they're already doing the move, and I'm like, they're like, how is that going? I'm like, that was perfect. So I'm like, when I'm quiet, that you're doing it right. So you can just see these things, you can feel it, and then there's times where they'll just end up moving, right? Like, or like things happen in life where they leave you in general. So and it's setting up that way. But to answer that question, I mean, you should be able to spot it over time, or it kind of like you see them not having to do 3 sessions anymore. They only do 2 sessions to keep things going. Things happen. It's not like a set in stone. What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like, it's not like this kind of thing that super detail lets you know. I think it's just there's signs there that you can potentially see, like, well, you're kind of doing it on your own at this point.
Tell me the difference between systems and motivation.
So it's like discipline versus motivation, right? So, well, systems are things that are in place that you do, more of a checklist, more of these things that you can follow, right? And then motivation is kind of more of this abstract thing. It's an internal feeling, where it's an internal thing where it's just like it's feelings based, where it's like, well, I feel good today, or I feel like I have this surge to make some changes, but the systems are what's going to be put in place for you to actually make that possible. It is your game plan. It is your approach to things. So I think that's just the difference, where one is actionable steps and the other is just like a feeling.
So you want to say if someone has a motivation, there is on some spike for any, like it can be some kind of event they're going, let's say a wedding a couple months from now, and they're going to be motivated to do this. But then once the wedding is done, they can lose this motivation. But the system is putting discipline in place. So my question is how to make this, like our clients who are like just regular people, don't understand this at all. How can you as a trainer explain to them to follow the system, actually become a disciplined person, but they've never been disciplined before? They're like, most of the people react based on feelings.
Yeah.
So today I don't feel like I'm not going to work out, and I'm not going to go to work out. But if you have a trainer waiting for you, that's a different, it's already a different feeling.
Yeah.
So my question to you is that how do you actually teach your clients about 2 different things?
So I changed their perception. That's first and foremost, right? So a lot of the clients we have are successful. You don't become successful without being disciplined. They just choose what to be disciplined in. So I kind of let them know, like, you have the ability to be disciplined. You just choose what to be disciplined and not. And then you kind of have them say things out loud. To become your CEO or wherever, what did you have to do? Long hours, work hard, say no to certain events, right? Kind of like put business over personal time, all these kind of things, right? And then I'm like, you kind of tie it in. Well, I'm like, that's no different from, it's just choosing to be disciplined here. You can still go out, but just say no to the drinks, say no to this, or just kind of like, okay, you get up every day for work, make time, get up, get a workout in, make sure you hit your steps, like whatever their markers are. You kind of just set it up, first of all, changing them, letting them know, like, you've been disciplined before. You're just choosing to not be disciplined here. And look what happens. You're successful in your work, but you're not successful in your goals. And it's just like, what's the difference? How much effort are you putting into this, right? So I think that's that. Letting them know first and foremost is just they're choosing. And then when you make them realize it's a choice, then they have power to make another choice, and that's better for their goals. And then they also realize, well, the other thing we spoke about earlier, accountability. It's like, well, I have a reason why, and it's me, it's my input. It's like I have a direct reason why I'm not where I want to be. So I think that's just kind of, it's a restructuring, and then it's kind of letting it, I think that's, I'm a ramble on, but yeah, that's kind of what it is.
Do you believe that someone can build self-confidence on an honest level without having all these strings, three things together? Mind from one side, and then physical state, plus some kind of system. Do you believe that those 3 things are very important for creating a self-confidence when it comes to even your job? Do you believe that someone can have a lot of self-confidence being really successful without being physically in a good spot?
Yeah, I think you need a strong mind, strong body, right? Strong self-awareness. It's kind of like, I think that's what it is to be strong in anything, right? I think you need, even within training, mind and body has to be in line.
Yep.
Because you got to know how to push yourself. You got to know how to push yourself safely. Yeah, I think the answer is no, because when we leave here, your chances are you're probably going to be the only one who wants your goal in your circle, because we tend to gravitate towards comfortability to a certain extent. Or humans are tribal, right? It's safety, right? So we are how we are, or how we look per se, if we were talking about a body comp client, because of our environment. So if you don't have a strong will, if you don't have a strong sense of self to kind of to say no to the things that got you to where you are now, and you don't have the determination or the what's the word? What was the 3 pillars that you were using? So you had self,
I said
physical,
mind, physical, and spiritual. I mean, it comes to mind also, spiritual, mind, and physical. But that's also create a self-confidence as well. That's why I'm asking, because sometimes people are in denial when they're not in a physical state where they want to be. Recently, I've been reading a lot about it, and then there is this belief that people cannot be confident enough without being physically where they want to be.
Yeah. So I forget where I read this, and it's just like your body is a representation of where you want to be and the work you're willing to put in to get there, right? So I think
there's no cheating there. We know.
No, there's no cheating there, right? That's just like the amount of direct effort you're willing to put in, which goes into being able to be the weird one sometimes. It was like, I remember for my birthday, we all went out, and I was doing a cut for like a video that I was going to be doing some workouts in for Men's Health Fitness. And I had to, we were playing, I think it was Top Golf we went to. They had like the wings, they had all these things out, and I was saying no. I told the server, I'm like, do you have grilled chicken? And he was like, yeah. And I kind of like had him make me a grilled chicken salad, right? But everybody was making jokes about it. And then I kind of like, in my head, I was like, well, I find comfort in being able to do things that nobody's willing to do. And also, I'm not going to take advice from anybody who isn't where I want to be, right? So, but I had to be strong-willed enough to deal with all that other stuff. People have those pressures everywhere without realizing. I mean, a lot of my clients have business meetings. It's not polite to say no to somebody who's offering you a drink. And it's like, we kind of, I don't know if it's everywhere, but over here, we kind of promote alcohol consumption and this unhealthy lifestyle as fun and beneficial and stress relief and all that other stuff. You have to be able to say no in all those environments, right? And you have to be uncomfortable with what that might bring people who live this lifestyle. So I think you have to be strong in all those pillars. You have to be comfortable within yourself. You have to be strong enough to kind of deal with the opposite end of the retaliation of being like healthy or wanting to make healthy choices and all this other stuff. So yeah, you need it, because nobody really talks about the opposite side of fitness, where when you live in an unhealthy, and if you're the minority in any majority situation, you seem crazy or off. So if we prioritize health and sleep and all this other stuff, majority of the world who doesn't is going to seem like we're crazy or we're weird if we go out to the club, but we're not going to have that drink. You're not drinking? No, I'm not drinking. Like how? Like so you have to be strong-willed and all that other stuff. So
I cannot agree more on this with you.
Yeah.
A couple of days ago, I went out, and there was some kind of event that when I go out, and this kind of events, like a couple of days ago, where everyone is like professional, they dress nice, and it's already a little pressure there.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to talk to these people, you want to kind of create small like value. For some reason they don't know about you, and you need to network with these people, and especially if you need them, because I started this podcast talking to
Mm-hmm.
them, and then you need these people to come to your podcast to know something about you, to kind of, and I was about to get a drink, but I made a system for myself not to drink from, let's say, Sunday to Friday,
Mm-hmm.
and it was Wednesday. So I was about to get a drink, and in the last moment, I told myself, wait a minute, why are you getting a drink right now?
Yeah.
So deeply inside, I felt, okay, first, I am getting this drink because I feel insecure. Second of all,
That's big.
I feel not really confident at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to have a drink. So to have this kind of
Connection.
but also like
That's a mimicry, right?
but not only that's a fake connection.
No, of
That's
course.
so you have this drink, dopamine level spikes. You have this connection with people. You can talk more and stuff. And I was like, okay, Alex, this is what it is. You're not getting a drink. Let's see how you're gonna feel. To be honest, first 10-15 minutes was hard. Everyone is drinking, everyone is drinking, but I noticed, I'm like, okay, good. I feel okay. And I was with myself. For the first time, like I never felt like that. So after, I would say 45 minutes,
But that's big. You had the awareness, right?
yes, but after 45 minutes, they're getting drunk, they're getting more open. They want to talk to me even more. And for me, I'm more present now than them, but they're still open to me more. So I felt even better. So that night I learned big lesson because I told myself, this is who I am. This is why I wanted to have a drink. So my answer, it was no, but I felt amazing afterwards.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you. It's all about being insecure. It's all about not feeling good at that moment. It's all about like creating the dopamine so you can feel better about yourself.
But it's not only that, right? It's by tribal humans. Again, that goes to that tribal nature, right? If you feel like if you do what the crowd is doing, you have that safety, right?
Yep.
So there's that also. So it's that, but you had that moment of introspection. You had that moment of self-awareness, and you have that moment that you kind of believed in who you are, and that self-confidence that you don't need this, right? But that's just how, and that's you being in this industry. So you yourself, that was amazing, but trying to figure out how to build that into clients who haven't had the ability. I think that's what goes back to like the fitness stuff, where it's super important that either you build that out or you completely remove them from those environments in general to set them up for success, right? But it's just beautifully put though. It's that insecure stuff. It's all that stuff of wanting and not deep diving into why you're doing the things you're doing. But the minute you had that strong awareness of self, you had that mental strength and all those other things, like you would have probably caved into that situation if you didn't have those moments. So to speak to answer your own question, that you answer your own, you need those things, right? To be successful. Yeah.
George, thank you so much for being here. I know this was short. I can talk to you all day long.
I go on rants. I mean, like, I feel like half the time I don't even answer your questions that you need because my mind works because everything is
that's good. That's good. We got a lot of things around it. I feel like this was very valuable and good insights for today.
Maybe one day we'll actually like hone it. I'm able to answer one question that you ask. Yeah.
No. We're gonna do it again. Hopefully in the future if we continue doing this. But I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much. And just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job.
Thanks a lot.
Helping your clients.
I got great trainers around me to mimic.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate your time and good luck in everything.
Appreciate it. You too, man.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.